Okay. Harold? Okay. Let's find out who owns the fur trade. Oh, you're the best. Clear liquid diet starts in T-2 hours. I should be miserable in 15 minutes, but on the bright side, 2020 or 5 marker after beating stage 3 colon cancer. That's fucked. Oh, God. Yeah, well, that's why you guys fucking eat so much. You guys are all fucking bored. My IG got hacked. I really don't know how. I wonder. Oh, fuck. Fuck. Oh. I could see Halo. Oh, good. My favorite ADHD-friendly activity is to window shop online, aka put everything I want into the cart and then just close the tab. You guys, come on now. I'm the fucking crazy one, apparently. Okay. Oh, don't fucking start your shit. Oh, God. Oh, my God, I can't. I don't even care. Please. Oh, okay. Fuck off. Okay. Oh. Oh, good shit. The trucking truth. Oh, God, please tell me.
I would like to see our own January 6th event. See some of those truckers plow right through that 16-foot wall.
Threats suggesting a siege on Parliament Hill.
Do it!
Individuals in a convoy headed for Ottawa.
Do it!
In the eye of security experts. Hundreds of truckers upset about the restrictions at the border are heading for the nation's capital. But social media posts by right-wing groups is creating...
Okay. Nope. Not for you, apparently.
Upset over new rules forcing unvaccinated Canadian truckers to test and quarantine when returning home. The convoy expected to reach the nation's capital Saturday, potentially creating traffic chaos in Ottawa, while some individuals hope to see death and destruction witnessed south of the border on January 6th.
It's really
oh my God, really?
How many people who are involved in this convoy or support the convoy are really seeking to push this outside.
I know you guys need your food, goddamn, right?
Organizers of the event did not respond to calls from City News. So far, over $4.1 million has been raised by organizers, but internet-based GoFundMe withholding those funds, waiting on more transparency
Wait,
about
what?
who's donating
What?
and for what purposes.
Well, I'm not suggesting this is money laundering. It is the kind of thing that happens.
Oh, okay, you're fucked. Oh my God. Truckers.
Smile Direct Club gets you a straighter, brighter, cleaner smile. Smile Direct Club.
Welcome to Canada's most irreverent talk show. This is the Andrew Lawton Show, brought to you by True North.
Coming up, there's a great big convoy heading to Ottawa, but where on earth is Aaron O'Toole? Plus, former
Hiding
Ontario
with
Privacy
Trudeau?
Commissioner Ann Kabukian on vaccine passports and the surveillance state.
The Andrew Lawton Show starts right now.
Hello and welcome to the Andrew Lawton Show here on True North Tuesday,
I know, it's
January
hard to handle,
25th,
but
2022. Good to have you
guess what?
aboard the program here.
Yo,
I'm not
fucking
in a
reality.
transport truck right now, but I'm cheering on the convoy from afar. I was listening to that Paul Brandt song Convoy on repeat yesterday, getting in the mood. I don't want to play a little bit of it because sometimes YouTube will then just automatically throw the whole episode into some sort of big tech purgatory just because you've used 5 seconds of a song. So I will tell you to look up the song. Paul Brandt is great. I've interviewed him. I have no idea what he thinks of the convoy making its way across the country right now, but I do know that convoy is growing and growing. And by the time it rolls into Ottawa on Saturday, I don't know how many people are going to be there. I know that they've said 50,000. That seems like a lot.
Wow.
I've seen some reports on Twitter that have suggested there are maybe 70 kilometers worth of trucks that have been rolling through the prairies in the last day and a bit through Alberta and Saskatchewan. But I think it's exciting. And here's the problem. There are many problems. What they're protesting is entirely within their right to protest. It's something that everyone should be protesting. Vaccine mandates more broadly, specifically for them, the vaccine mandate that prevents them from being able to cross the border and come back into Canada
And
without
give you
being
guys your
fully vaccinated
fucking
if that's something
food
that
that you
for
guys are
whatever
obsessed
reason
with.
they don't want. But beyond this, we also
You guys make
have the
yourself
idea
miserable to fucking
that they're taking a stand, and they've done it in a way that I find interesting here. Aaron O'Toole has actually joined their message without saying that he wants anything to do with them. Quite the opposite. So a couple of weeks ago, Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole said that he opposes the vaccine mandate for truckers. His approach on this has been about the importance of securing supply chains.
Oh my God, yes, Lydia.
Store shelves, all of that. But he hasn't wanted to take up any of these fights in any other context. He's not been waging the war for freedom on vaccine mandates and vaccine passports. He's made some veiled, nondescript attacks against lockdowns.
Father-daughter had hundreds of winter jackets to Montreal homeless. Like, hundreds
of these things.
Like, do you not understand like that?
Shelves are at issue. He's saying,
you don't see the fact that you have to hand out hundreds of jackets is from
yesterday him unwilling to say whether he supports the convoy, or let alone whether he will meet with them. I'm not going to play the whole thing. He was asked, I think it was about 8 times, in English and in French, what he thinks of the convoy, and wouldn't give an answer at all. This is just one sample of it.
And to follow, again, repeat Louis' question, will you meet with them when they come to Ottawa?
We've been talking to the Canadian Truckers Alliance, Glenn, for several months. We've seen a crisis in the supply chain coming for several months, and we've proposed policies to try and help alleviate that. The most important of which is vaccines. And we encourage everyone to get vaccinated and to get boosted. And how can we use those tools alongside the other tools to make sure that we don't see shortages on grocery store shelves? Because here's the reality. When there's a shortage of products, the costs go up, and Canadians are already 60% worried about paying their grocery bill.
Or their rent, because the fucking government fucking doesn't know what the fuck's going on, apparently. That's good.
That's
Thank
what
you.
we've been advocating for responsibly the last few months, Glenn, is to try and tackle the supply chain crisis, encourage vaccination, not ignore problems and divide the country like Mr. Trudeau does.
He was asked a couple more times, and then he was asked, okay, will you meet with them at least? And he said it's not his place. This is the answer he gave to CBC's Travis Sandwich on whether he'll meet with them.
You?
I assume that you knew that you were going to get questions on the trucker convoy today. It just strikes me as odd that you don't have
an
a
answer
position on this.
Yeah.
I know that my colleagues have tried, but why are you unwilling to tell these truckers coming to Ottawa if you stand with them or not? And do you have a position that you will make clear today?
Well, Travis, let me be perfectly clear. As I just said in French, it's not for the leader of the opposition or political party to attend a protest on the Hill or a convoy.
That was fucking
It's up
intriguing.
to politicians to
You just told
advocate
you.
for solutions in a
I just told
cost
you
of living
French.
crisis, in a supply chain crisis,
Because we all
in
understand
a way
French,
that's
right?
responsible and respectful
Making the fucking rest of the country
health
fucking
crisis we're in.
Okay, so he's
Big
not
friends,
saying
like-
whether he supports them. Then he says it's not the place of a leader of the opposition to meet with any protesters. Setting aside for a moment that opposition leaders join protests
very
on
helpful.
Parliament Hill historically. They've spoken at them. This is not a novel concept, but nevertheless, he wasn't giving an answer. So we can take from this that he probably does not support the convoy, but doesn't want to say it, or he does support the convoy and doesn't want to say it. But I think that's a lot less likely. I think that's a lot less likely. And the reason I want to bring this up and focus on his words here is because Aaron O'Toole has taken issue with the vaccine mandate for truckers, but he's doing it for the wrong reasons. Now, if you take the Machiavellian approach, well, you know what? The right outcome for the wrong reasons may suit you just fine. And in a political fashion, yes, I agree with that. If you're looking just at the politics of it, I don't care how people agree with me. As long as they agree with me, that's fine. But if we're talking about building a movement here and wanting a conservative movement, a small c conservative movement, and a leader of that movement,
jobs where literally picking up human
his
shit.
approach to this issue misses the
And
mark
then
entirely.
getting fuck off already. Like,
And the reason I say
you guys
that
go
is because
fucking
vaccine
vacation.
mandates are not wrong because they might lead to empty store shelves. They're not wrong because of supply chain issues. They're not wrong because they put truckers out of work. They're wrong because they're wrong. All of these other things are important, but they are incidental to the fundamental question
Whatever.
of whether the state
I'm
has the
obviously
right
fucking that though. Let's go.
to mandate vaccination for anyone, for any job. And the answer to that is
Like,
no.
fucking,
And
I
there are
swear
some
to
fixed
God, just
truths here,
repeat,
some
repeat, repeat,
universal
repeat.
moral truths
Sorry.
that Aaron O'Toole
Okay,
doesn't
change
want to
it.
engage with.
I
Now,
don't care.
again, I
I'm
don't
done.
want the conservative leader to be a moral or political philosopher. It's certainly not this conservative leader or anyone else in Canadian politics for that matter. But what I'm saying here is that you can't just take this tiny little subset of this debate and say, yeah, this mandate's wrong because, there's no cauliflower on the shelves. Well, because that's saying that if the government were to find a way to put cauliflower on the shelves, the vaccine mandate wouldn't be a problem, which we know isn't the case. Now, I do think that the economic dimension of this is the only reason the Conservatives are choosing to take up this particular vaccine mandate fight. They're not talking about vaccine mandates for healthcare workers. They're not talking about vaccine mandates for air travelers. They're not talking about vaccine mandates for travelers in general returning home to Canada who want to evade quarantine.
Fucking
None
vaccinated.
of these issues are factoring into the Conservative
Retarded.
message on the pandemic. They're only talking about truckers because there is a supply chain component. And I mentioned this. I wrote a column in my Substack yesterday, which I do hope you will check out, andrewlawton.substack.com. It's not affiliated with True North, but I use it to promote a lot of my work and expand on some of the ideas we talk about on this show. The point I made in there is that the Conservatives have tried to, instead of being the official opposition, be the official auditors of Canada. They're concerned with pocketbook issues, with economic issues, and anything outside of that they don't want to touch.
Look at your own drugs.
And it's the biggest
on drugs
delusion
too,
of
bitch.
conservatism in Canada.
Different
that you
kind,
need
the
to
less
stay
fun kind.
in
Ones
this
are fucking
safe, protected,
turns you catatonic.
segregated
Like
terrain
fun.
of just dealing with the economy. It's like taking that old James Carville axiom, it's the economy,
I could
stupid,
very
and
much
moving it
well
just
be
past
happy
the
on my
point
own.
of
Thank
relevance
you.
because you're
Without all
only
your
focused
fucking
on those
crazy
issues.
like
The economy is important.
antidepressants
But
that
in a
don't make you
complex
actually
time,
happy.
people
They
are
just
looking
make
for
you
more
not
than
want to kill your.
This
not
idea,
able
this
to kill yourself
conservative
again.
idea that you have to focus on the economy only
Unless
works
they
when the
fucking-
economy
what was
is
it?
the number one issue
Prozac.
facing Canadians. And
Prozac
incidentally,
is scary.
in most
I
elections, it
fucking hate that
probably
shit
is.
at all.
In most elections, taxes, cost of
Like-
living are probably the most important issues that Canadians have. Even peripheral issues to that, like things like the carbon tax,
Literally ended
that's
my
an
life on
economic
spot.
issue. That's a
So,
cost of
that
living
fucking
issue
was
more
terrible.
than it's an environmental issue for most Canadians. Not for Justin
Fucking
Trudeau,
slightly
but for the
depressed.
average voter and
Suicidal.
taxpayer.
Well, you know, it's
But
not
the
very
last
many
2
people
years has been
I
monumentally different. The number one issue facing Canadians is not
to
an
let them
economic
know
issue.
that maybe people are
It's an entire bundle of issues related to pandemic. There's health, there's economics, and there is also the ongoing assault and the increasing assault on civil liberties.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain issues that need to be the hill to die on. Fundamental freedoms are at the very top of that hill. If you don't stand up for those, you're not really standing up for anything of substance. I don't care how low my taxes are if I live in an unfree society, an unfree country, a country in which the government is the one that apparently retains the right to decide what happens to my body.
Where did my weed go?
So right now, these are political problems.
Oh, you guys put fucking cigarettes and people have no problem though.
The Canadian government didn't cause the pandemic, but the Canadian government has caused its response
fucking jokes about
to
it.
the pandemic.
Fucking asshole.
So this is a political issue in need of a political solution. Ideally, this would be something that would serve as a welcome mat with, big flashing lights telling Aaron O'Toole, this is your runway, you can land on it. But he's not doing that, and he's not been doing that for most, basically the entirety of his leadership. Because remember, he became the leader of the Conservatives midway through this pandemic in August of 2020. So he's had a year and a half, and he has not wanted to take up the biggest challenges facing Canadians. So when I see thousands of truckers, and by the way, I don't even want to give a number.
That was my first job when I was 8.
Recording this, it's about $4 million that's been put towards this convoy. Thousands of people. You look at the videos, the images, people lining highway overpasses, lining the sides of the highways, cheering on these truckers as they roll by on their way to Ottawa. These are not just like these racist, misogynist, anti-vaxxers that Justin Trudeau likes to malign. These are ordinary people that are saying, you know what, these people are speaking for me. And how dare the official opposition leader, who claims that he agrees with these people, he hasn't said he agrees with them, but he claims that his position is the one that has launched them to action. How dare he not oppose?
Fucking
There is a movement right now in Canada that's growing, and it's a movement that in the political context of elected Canadian officials is without a leader. Sort of. And here's the caveat. And by the way, let me just say, Maxime Bernier, I know, has been very solid on vaccine mandates. His power is limited given that he
oh my god! See? I knew you were fucking wrong.
PPC supporters jumping up and down saying, why are you ignoring Maxime? Covered at True North, the PPC, I think more than most media.
I knew you were fucking wrong. I'm not getting yourself
media, there have been others, but
into a coma.
Compared to mainstream, we have spent more time focusing on who they are and what they believe.
That makes you happy and that makes you feel better. You do you, boo.
Nevertheless, when we look at the political structures in Canada and elected officials, Aaron O'Toole is, as I said in my newsletter, he's at the side of the road while his base, while the country is getting on the convoy. Now, there have been some MPs that are speaking out. So the Conservative caucus has been fairly tight in the last year, because I think O'Toole
go see my GP without fucking writing me a fucking prescription. But I'm just like, I just want therapy.
And I want to point out a couple of examples.
Oh, we don't really diagnose borderline. Why? Because there's no medication for it.
Centennial Flame on
Can I get my fucking
saying,
I'm the crazy one, whatever.
Convoy. I can't wait for them to get here. That's great. And that was like just half an hour before O'Toole's press conference, in which he wouldn't say whether he supported them or not. Andrew Scheer, the former Conservative Party of Canada leader, has talked about how great truckers are and the importance of resisting the mandate.
That's great.
Has
See, it's not just
he
me.
also tweeted a link to a National Post op-ed talking about the assaults on fundamental freedoms that the lockdown mongers have viewed the pandemic as an excuse to put forward. Other MPs as well, Kevin Waugh.
Yeah, you could do it. You could fucking totally do it.
He has said that he's supportive of them. He actually saw them off. I think it was in Saskatoon.
All fucking diploma is just saying that people do things follow through on it.
So he's probably getting
I didn't go to school. I fucking go
You've got Conservative MPs that are cheering for this convoy.
I don't fucking need to be doing that.
Won't even say whether he agrees with
Once
what
I
it is
get
they're doing. And
good.
I'm going to put
Move
on
on.
my political strategist hat. I don't even know if I have
Call
a
me
political
stupid because we're
strategist
going
hat
over and
on.
over and
I
over and
might be
over. I'm like,
throwing
I'm
boxes in
not
the
fucking gonna
next
keep
one,
doing
but
this.
if
You
I had a
kidding? Like,
political
fuck no.
strategist hat, I would put it on here and say this. What O'Toole is trying to do is
Fuck
get the best of both
yeah!
worlds. He's trying to, by saying he opposes the trucker mandate, win over the support of the base, people like me that are against lockdowns
Thank
and are against
you.
vaccine mandates. But by not saying he supports the convoy,
Sometimes
he's
it's-
trying to win all that support from the media and the center and the left. I'm moderate. I'm reasonable. Yes, I'm not like those people. But when you try to win both sides, you end up alienating both. This is the reality of conservatives that try to walk this line. There's a reason that Erin O'Toole is not prime minister right now, and it's because it doesn't work. It doesn't
Oh my
work.
god!
It's never worked, and it never will.
That's
work.
so crazy. Like
Because
these
the people on
amount
top
of
are
people
always
that
gonna
are
be
like,
distrusted.
yo, hey, I
That's
just want
why
to let
he
you
was
know,
getting this question, I
fucking
think 8 times at that press
fuck them.
conference. Do you support them?
It's,
Yes or no? The
yeah.
media wasn't buying. that
If
he did
everywhere
because
else
the
is
media
good,
thinks
but
he
we're
supports
not,
them
yeah.
anyway. The media
All for
thinks that
money, yeah, and
conservatives
fame,
are
yeah.
the very worst caricature of themselves. The media thinks that Erin O'Toole wants to put on a trucker hat, start singing that Paul Brandt song, and leading the convoy himself. Get his, AZ license, get in the truck, and start
Distribute
leading the
the
convoy.
wealth
That's what the media thinks Erin
evenly.
O'Toole
Like,
secretly wants to do.
why am I
Now, I think
fucking
most
working myself to
conservatives probably
death?
wish that was
Like,
the case,
literally.
but it's not.
Yeah, you fucking
So
Trudeau can go on
unless he
fucking
comes out and says,
million
I
vacations a
absolutely
fucking year,
unequivocally
like,
denounce it, the media's going
take
to
your
assume
fucking
he's
kids to fucking
basically
Disney,
gonna be
like,
the grand marshal of the convoy at
how
any
many
given
many
moment.
times every fucking year, like,
So
one day I'm
that
gonna take you to Disney, one day I'm
distrust
gonna
is
take you to Disney, like, fucking,
Conversely, the
guess
other
what?
side
We never
is no
went.
longer trusting him either. Because people that might have thought he was on side are now hearing him say, well, it's not for me, and again, and inflation and vaccines.
People are fucking scared of fucking say something.
There, it's like, how on earth are we seeing? We expect to see a conservative leader.
And if you don't
And
fucking
in
understand what I'm
that press
talking about,
conference
guess
yesterday,
what? There's a
I
lot
didn't see
of fucking
O'Toole
people
putting
who
forward
fucking
conservatism or
we get
leadership.
shit on. We do fucking
And
shit
this
jobs.
is a tremendous problem for the country right now. Because as I said, you can win over hearts and minds, you can engage in the culture, you can do all that as much as you want. But right now, these are political problems being created by political leaders,
fucking
and
kicking up
thus
fucking
in need
shit,
of political
little
solutions
feces.
from political leaders. And the person most positioned
I don't
to be
get it. I
offering
could've
those,
sworn
Erin
I had
O'Toole,
pot.
is not doing it. He's just not. He's just not doing it. And the trucker convoy, I mean, obviously it's about truckers. And this is the imminent pressing example of the vaccine mandate in action. Some of the naysayers on Twitter try to say, well,
you guys want to fucking
even Canada changed
I guess
its
look at how
rules, the
Mexican
US is now putting a
standoff.
trucker mandate in. So
But
it's
the
not
people
like
who
they
bring
can do
you
their
your
jobs
food,
anyway.
their
And I
job
think
is
that's
sitting
besides the
around,
point.
sitting on their asses. They
I
just want to be
truly
left alone.
think it is. And there are two main
Now you're getting
reasons
all up in
for
their
that.
shit.
Number one is that the U.S. did it after Canada did. And it's entirely possible, like with the border closure, that it was responsive or retaliatory to Canada. Now, the Biden
My
administration
phone is
has
also
a very
back to
different
shit.
approach to these things than the Trump administration does, obviously. But I do think that there's something to be said that may have been responding, because Canada basically said, we're shutting the door to unvaccinated American truckers. And the U.S.
Yo, you want to eat? Like,
for you. The other side of this is that we're not talking anymore about the specific implications of this. We're talking about the bigger picture, or if we're not, we should be. We should be talking about the bigger picture here. Because what is unfolding right now is going to be, by the time it gets to Ottawa on Saturday, much bigger than just the truckers. There are truckers in this that are fully vaccinated, that aren't affected directly. There are truckers in this that aren't even cross-border truckers, that are just saying they want to live their lives
alone. They're just trying to fucking work.
Not have the government
Hey, like,
interested in intervening.
what exactly about fucking
And
being
this is
a
why,
trucker
as much as I
and
hate that old Martin E.
delivering
Moore
a
poem
load
that
of
gets,
fucking
taken out and used so many
necessary
times
things that people
in every
need?
context.
Like,
first
what?
they came for the
Where's
trade unionists, then they came for
You
the
don't
and
even
all of
get on
that.
the vehicle.
There is something to be said about if you don't see where this is headed, you're going to at some point realize that it's too late to do anything about it.
That's it.
And we're in this situation now in Canada. The vaccine mandate for healthcare workers, the vaccine mandate for air and train travelers, the vaccine mandate for public servants, now the vaccine mandate for truckers. At a certain point, there's going to be so few people left who have not been subjected to a mandate that there really won't be anyone to stand up for them.
Like, what are we
So
even
if the
doing
trucker
in
mandate
fucking
is the
Russia
one
right
that
now, bro?
galvanizes support here, that brings people who have previously not spoken out about this on board, as I think it's doing, that's great news. But Aaron O'Toole is not leading on this. And it's not just him. I mean, obviously, Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh are exactly in lockstep on this, but that's precisely the problem. We've prioritized in the pandemic having a unified so-called Team Canada approach, which earlier on might have been important, back when we were still clanging and banging pots and pans for healthcare workers. But now that we're firing people for not being vaccinated, I think it's safe to say that the clanging and banging things for essential workers was all
Yeah,
a myth.
you guys
It was all a
forget
charade,
shit
and we
like a
believed it for
lot.
5
Like,
minutes,
now I'm
but we're
fucking
past
finding.
that
I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot about
So
that.
I
Like,
don't
that's
want the
crazy. Like, that
unified
happened.
Team Canada approach. If that unified approach is one that is surrendering
Like,
civil
you
liberties
guys
more
fucking
and
take all
more
the
by
fucking
the
airplanes
day,
you want. Like,
I don't want
but the
political leaders to
truckers
be
are the
unified
ones
on
who
that.
are fucking
I want there to be opposition.
spreading
I
a
want there
disease,
to be
whatever. Like,
resistance.
you guys are fucking
And
dumb.
if it's not coming
It's
from the political
ridiculous.
class, it has to come from thousands of truckers that do exactly what they can. One truck driving to Ottawa doesn't do anything. 2 or 3 don't do anything. Thousands of trucks, millions of dollars, people lining the streets, that's making an impact. Does it have the ability to change policy? Maybe, maybe not. But it certainly is being noticed. People around the world are talking about this trucker convoy. It's a very quintessentially Canadian protest, which I think is fantastic.
Cool.
So I want to continue to see this grow. And before you fall down the road, because I've already seen it on Twitter, people that point out individual comments made by, oh, well, this person said this thing that's controversial. None of that matters. And it's done by people that want to dismantle something that they can't really do on philosophical or ideological grounds. No one can say that the vaccine mandate is morally right. So all they can do is say, well, you know, this guy once tweeted something and he's in the convoy, so there we go. I'm not interested, because the whole point is that it's greater than the sum of its parts.
Okay, well,
It's bigger than any one person in it. This is a movement. That movement is rolling, and Aaron O'Toole can get in the convoy or stay on the side of the road.
Crazy?
You can take the
Like,
bus. I don't
my
care.
brain is literally telling me,
But
like,
this is where the country is. This
curfew,
is where the
don't go
conservative
out.
base
Like,
is. And
like,
you know what?
it brings
People
me
should get
a
on
bit of,
board.
like, almost,
We've
not
gotta take a
fear,
break.
but,
When we
like,
come back, more
anxiety
Andrew Lawton
of
Show
fucking
here on
leaving
True
my
North.
house at nighttime because I'm afraid I'm gonna get pulled over by a fucking cop. Like,
We are back. This is the Andrew Lawton Show here on True North. Obviously, this show has, I don't want to say devolved, because as I mentioned earlier, these are important issues, and I think if political leaders aren't taking them up, certainly we need to in the public sphere and in media, independent media, all of that. But I do want to talk about vaccine mandates and vaccine passports from a different perspective here. We touched last week on what's happening in Europe and this migration towards what a lot of people fear is becoming a surveillance state. It's not just about the segregation of society based on vaccination status, but the implications of having to show that, of having to log that. And this is a discussion that we haven't really had as a country in Canada. Privacy rights in general, I'd say, are not things that seem top of mind on the political agenda. So I want to talk about this, and there's no one better than Dr. Ann Cavoukian, who was for 3 terms the Privacy Commissioner in Ontario, and also is the Executive Director of the Global Privacy and Security by Design Center, and as her Twitter bio says, a lover of privacy and freedom, who joins me now. And wonderful to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining us.
I'm done.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Andrew. Thank you.
Catering to this
You
fucking
wrote
childish
a tremendous
nonsense.
piece on your Substack back in
I know,
October
life's
that I
hard.
wanted to start off on here, because you challenged a presumption I've always
But
had
you know
about
what? Fucking-
a lot of the things that I've argued
Good luck
for.
to you being
I've
fucking
always viewed
loaded up on
freedom
fucking
as
meds.
being really that fundamental base unit that you need to
Fucking-
live the good life, as they
You like
say
you're
in
fucking
political theory.
we're
You said
crazy
that there's
filthy
something
drug
more
addicts.
fundamental
Like
to
fucking,
that.
but
You
you guys
argue
are
that
constantly
privacy
fucking
is needed to enjoy freedom.
literally
And I want to
medicated.
get to the vaccine passports and the vaccine mandates, but I first wanted to set
Guys,
you up to
like-
explain what you mean by that.
I've always said that privacy forms the foundation of our freedom. You cannot have free and open societies without a solid foundation of privacy, where you, the individual, get to decide what information.
That's what you guys are afraid of. Like, you guys are afraid of, like, not having your own thoughts. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
It's all about. So privacy and freedom go hand in hand.
We've often viewed, I think for a lot of people, the big threats against privacy has come from corporations. Certainly in the last decade or so, big tech censorship,
Maybe not.
big tech companies like Facebook and Google amassing these huge troves of data about you. We're in a new era now, though. Vaccine passports are one of many examples where something that used to be, and in a distant era would have, or even a not so distant era, would have been your private information, your private choices, is now part of your identity in a way that you must use that to access public sphere. But it's not private corporations that are imposing that, it's government.
Oh, I think government
They don't want me in the
is our
public
greatest
sphere.
concern now, quite frankly.
I don't want to be in the public
Because
sphere.
their ability to usurp our information, to tell us what to do, and expect us just to accept that, they, in my view, are seeking much greater control, and they're getting control. Like the COVID pandemic, they are scaring people to death. And when people live in a world of fear, then it just eradicates their
It's
lives.
crazy.
They
You
go
guys are
along
fucking
with
scared
whatever,
of
not because they agree
everything.
with it,
Like,
but because they feel they have
you're
no
scared to
choice,
have your own
and they're
fucking
scared for
opinion,
their
your own
lives.
thoughts. Fuck
Governments
off,
are
man.
only
Get out of here.
right now in terms
Fucking,
of usurping our
fucking
freedoms.
opinion. Fucking get a
When it comes to
spine.
privacy, I know the 5 words you've heard that must just make your skin crawl are if you have nothing to hide, ... And at the same time, though, we're seeing this in the vaccine passport discussion. People who say, well, if you're fully vaccinated, what's the big deal? Why do you care so much? And I'm having
Guys,
trouble
there's gonna be
convincing
another
some
one,
of those
and another one,
people
and
why
another
they
one,
should
and the
care
pills, and the
about
fucking,
these
like, you guys are
measures
gonna
if they're
fuck
on
all
board
the
with
fucking
the
things
particular
for
output.
COVID.
They're fully
Like,
vaccinated.
look around.
Why should
Who's
those
sick?
people still
Like,
care about these
who's gonna work?
insertions you're talking about?
Because it's your full life, your freedom. I mean, just because you're vaccinated, first of all, there are so many myths associated
Oh
with
my
being
god, it's
vaccinated and the
retarded.
site
And
of
they,
vaccines. It is appalling. And so
you guys are
don't
so
think
afraid to
for a
get
minute that just
sick.
because you've been
Guess what?
vaccinated,
That's
everything is
fucking
fine.
life.
Most of the
Like,
people appearing in the hospitals
people
now
get
with COVID are
sick.
fully vaccinated, fully boosted, everything. So
There's nothing you
and
can do
let
to
me go back
stop
to that
that
line
other
you
than
started with.
fucking
Well,
use your
nothing
fucking
behind,
brain.
you have nothing
Like,
to fear,
you
right?
see someone coughing,
That could
go
have
get
been the
away from
motto
that
of the
person.
Stasi
Don't
police
go
all
near
their
those
life.
people. Like, I have a
Because
fucked
it
up hand.
presumes
I have to go to the
that the
hospital.
government has a right of access to
No.
all your information, and you should open up your life to them and give them whatever they want. And that's not what
No.
freedom is about. That's not what privacy is
No.
about. It is
That's
usurping the
not
role
freedom.
of individuals.
That's not healthcare.
Personal control.
And I don't
Privacy is
care
about
if it's
personal
for
control over the
fucking
use and
whatever.
disclosure of your personal
Like, you're
information. That's what
charging me
freedom is about.
for a
Government
fucking
is
walk-in
fully trying to
doctor's
change the
appointment. I'm
American to
no.
say that,
I'm
well,
not
this is
doing
wrong.
that.
Why shouldn't
I'll
you
fucking
get
do
the
it the
vaccine?
fucking
We're telling
hand.
you should be doing this. Well, you got nothing to hide, right? Wrong. It has nothing to do with that.
No.
This is why
Get the
I've
fuck
been so
out of my
unsettled by
fucking
people
life.
who have been, especially in the UK right now, where they've basically revoked
Just
all of
wanna
their COVID
fucking-
restrictions. People
You know
heaping
what?
praise on these
At the end
governments.
of the day, I
I'm
just want a
unsettled
fucking
by this
stupid ass
because
little
it
dab.
reinforces that
That's all I
very
wanted was a
idea
little
that
rinky-dink
they
dab.
were government's freedoms to give and government's
And then I was like,
freedoms
who
to
the
take
fuck is
away,
running
which
this
we know
place?
is not the case. And I think so many people,
Oh my
especially
God,
in Canada, are
it's
so
the
beaten
fucking
down
spawn
by
Satan.
now
Like,
about
honestly, I
lockdowns and
cannot believe
restrictions
how awful
that
this
they'll
woman
be grateful when these things are lifted, at least in some form. I mean, I had a conversation a little while ago with someone about masks on planes, and I said, it's something that I fear will be here forever. And they said, well, if that's the only restriction left, then I can live with it. So people have already accepted this idea that they have to settle for less than we're supposed to have in a free society.
But here's what we're not seeing in mainstream media. There is so much opposition to this. Over the weekend, there were protests in countries all over the world opposing vaccine mandates, passports, etc. 100,000 in Brussels. There was a huge one in London, in Dublin. Here in Toronto, on Saturday, there was huge protests and got no coverage whatsoever, and all across the country. So people are objecting to this. Many people. You're not hearing about it on mainstream media. That's the problem. So Do not think that this is being widely accepted and it's fine and we're just going to go along with this. No, we're not. We value our freedom. We value our privacy. We're going to stand up for our personal rights. And when you're talking about vaccine mandates and passports, we're talking about the most sensitive personal information that exists, your personal health information, your medical data. This doesn't belong to anybody in the public. It belongs to you and your physician, whoever you choose to disclose it to. You shouldn't have to be expected to present a passport on this. It is absurd.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, Anne, is this idea of systems that are being built by governments now that I think will outlive the pandemic. Your background, obviously, you were the creator of Privacy by Design. You know very well the idea of specifically building privacy and protection of data into systems. And it strikes me that if that's possible, then government can do the opposite, which is build into systems the premise that there is no privacy, build into systems the idea that our data do not belong to us, but belong to the government. And my fear in this has always been that the vaccine passports we have now, sure, you're vaccinated against COVID, maybe you're boosted, that's fine. But this thing could very easily be applied to flu shots. It could be very easily be applied to other things. And I don't think a lot of people certainly in mainstream media, and I would say in government as well, are talking about the longer term implications of these systems that are being designed and this infrastructure that right now is being created.
No, that's right, Andrew. The potential expansion of this to other areas is dramatic and very frightening to me, because it will usurp our freedoms in multiple areas where the government has not. And let's be frank, the government being in control of our information, they have a terrible record in terms of securing any of the data, not disclosing it to third parties or unauthorized. It's appalling. The thought of it just makes me quiver. So no, the government does not have a right of greater access. And what we need to do, and our federal privacy commissioner has been trying to get the government to upgrade our privacy laws, which were introduced in the early 2000s. Have they done anything? No. This is what is appalling. To rely on the government to have to take care of our privacy and our freedom, it's not going to happen. We have to stand up. We have to speak out. And so many people are doing this. You're just not hearing it on mainstream media. That's what concerns me so much. I want people to know there's so much opposition to this all around the world, globally. Don't give up.
Now, when you say early 2000s, just to give a brief summary of the things that have come about since then, digital apps, smartphones, social media platforms, QR codes, all of these are kind of ubiquitous now, and you're saying are not covered by the privacy laws we had, or at least we're not informing the development of those laws.
They weren't top of mind. They weren't on our minds at all because they didn't exist back then. We desperately need to strengthen our laws. For the first time, we no longer have essential equivalence with the new law that came into effect in Europe in 2018, the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR. Our law is no longer sufficient. So we can no longer exchange and trade and engage in business with the EU without fear of reprisal. And they've said, you've got to upgrade your law. And, Federal Privacy Commissioner Daniel Taliana has been asking the government to do this since 2016, 2017. They've done nothing. It is appalling that we have not moved this forward as we need to.
You mentioned Europe. One thing I wanted to ask about is their move, and I don't know how much you've delved into it, but their move into this digital ID that they're trying to put forward and really make this the cornerstone of your identity across European nations. And there was a Dutch lawyer I read a column from last week that was concerned that the vaccine passport will very easily be swept up into this digital ID. And all of a sudden, we're talking about something that is connected to your banking information, your residency, your employment, your mobility. How real is something like that in a Canadian context?
I'm hoping it's not that real, simply because it takes us forever to do anything.
Yeah, bureaucracy may be the saving grace on this.
But I fear the digitization of identity, digital ID, like they're doing in Europe. And Europe will go to great lengths to protect it with the GDPR, make sure it's not centralized. So that's part of the key part. You don't want this data centralized. If your digital ID is centralized, then it can be accessed by multiple third parties, often unknown, unauthorized. You may not be aware of it. So you have to take enormous precautions if we go down that route of digital ID, and I don't think we're ready for that.
let's go back to an Ontario context here. You served as the privacy commissioner 3 terms. I think you're still the reigning record holder for time you served in that position. Did you find that the resistance you were getting was from politicians that were fundamentally opposed to these things, or was it just from people that didn't think it was a priority or didn't think it was all that important?
You know, it was with the government. The political parties, whenever there was a political party, it wasn't the government yet. They were all for privacy, totally for protecting our data, etc. Then when they became the government, all that changed. It shifted. They wanted to control data. They wanted control over our data. And this is what concerns me enormously, is that governments have this belief that they somehow have to be in control of people's information and decide how it's going to be structured and everything. And so I am very concerned, especially with our existing governments, I really am, that this is the direction they're going in. They feel like they've got this pass now with the vaccine mandate and passports, and they've got all this control.
Not really, but at least I'm not trying to end my life anymore, so that's great.
This is the fear that I have, and we have to resist this very strongly.
When you talk about a lot of these things, it's easy, or I guess would have been a year ago, to be branded as a conspiracy theorist, although I think the more of these so-called conspiracies keep coming true in the last year, the less likely people are to throw that term around. But you raised an important point there, which is that the pandemic does seem to have provided a convenient opportunity to people that were already committed to certain dimensions of pandemic policy, specifically just the Government Control Act.
And I fear that will be magnified in the future. You know, the pandemic, we're going to get over the pandemic sooner or later. They're going to find something else. That is my fear, is that they're now saying, well, Omicron's going to be around for a long time and it'll be with us. We need to preserve these precautions. We had the flu for years.
Yeah,
like,
what?
You get the flu, you get over it. Or you get it treated or whatever. There are things in existence. We can't raise people's fears.
What other
People
thing?
live in fear all the time. That is no way to live. And I fear that governments will go that route. You
don't treat a disease, you treat the symptoms.
You mentioned earlier, Anne, that the public is very much growing in its resistance to this, and that story is not being told in the mainstream
it's
media.
Not, I feel like too fucking scared to say shit.
Also, at the same time, remain a bit pessimistic.
So
I have found there are a lot of people that will use that line we were talking about earlier, of if you have nothing to hide. A lot of people.
Oh my god, yeah, thank you, Facebook. I know you guys fucking are amazing with that algorithm shit, and you guys are high tech, all fucking
optimistic or pessimistic generally about where society is and the culture is on these issues.
You know, I've always been the eternal optimist, because you have to be, otherwise life is too depressing. I'm getting very concerned, I must admit, with the direction this is taking.
Fucking $3,000 for this fucking piece of fucking garbage shit? Like, are you kidding me?
I remember one of the first privacy commissioners of New Zealand, we were at a conference together, and he said, if people say that to you, tell them, you know, don't you go to bed with your husband? Don't you have something to do? Don't you have certain things you'd like to keep private, for God's sake? Do you have no life to yourself? There are things in every life that people choose to keep private. It's no one else's business. And when it comes to medical data, that should be right at the top. I fear we're going to have ongoing problems here, but we have to stay strong and vigilant. Please, I urge you, never give up.
Hang on.
Well, just on the note of medical data, I know when the government, which basically has been fairly universal across Canada among provinces, moved towards QR codes. So you can no longer even hand over just a piece of paper. You need to have a QR code. The government would say, well, you know, we're making sure that none of your other data will be stored on this. And I always thought that was missing the point, that the vaccination certificate is itself a piece of data. It is itself a piece of information about your medical choices. And there does seem to be something missing there, that it's not about how you implement the program as much as the existence of this program, and I would say the segregation itself.
Yeah, QR codes, please. I mean, why do you have to present a QR code? It is absurd.
Dude, you don't even understand, lady.
You obtain this data and have it linked with individuals. And when you go to places and
okay, let's try again.
They also ask you for ID.
Guess what?
License, health data, whatever, with a picture on it. So that can be linked.
You're not gonna let me do it again, really?
Activities, surveillance, malice.
People actually watched it. Wait.
So where? If I
please, yeah, you're gonna fucking literally completely stop me from
the biggest point is here that we can start breaking down on this, because governments have generally been fairly unrepentant. And while there have been some slight disagreements in how provinces have handled this, Liberal, Conservative, NDP, they've all basically gone the same direction. Every province and territory has a vaccine passport. Not everyone has gone the way Quebec has yet by talking about mandating or fining. But generally speaking, we're seeing a pretty unified approach on a lot of these measures. Where do you think the best way to break that apart is?
I think slowly the lifting of vaccine passports will begin, and it will take some time. I want to be clear. I think what people have to insist upon is that their freedoms are invaluable, that health data associated with your medical conditions, with the choices you make, this should be yours to freely make and not have to display to the world what choices you've made. This is very personal information.
Okay,
and
whatever.
So when I approach people along those lines, that this is health data, that should not necessarily have
You
to
guys
be
are
said.
crazy.
If you want to do, look, I always tell people, I'm not anti-vax, I'm pro-choice. I want to preserve
Whatever, come on.
our choices, preserve our privacy and our freedom. When you take that route,
Okay.
people generally come into agreement. So that's what I'm
Are we
urging
doing?
people to
Are we
do.
doing this?
Yeah, and I would also add to that as well. When
Okay.
these measures are lifted,
I
in
have
a
to
lot
go
of cases,
get
governments
pot.
will conveniently
Video
say
is
that
starting.
they will
Oh,
lift
I
them
have
because
videos.
they worked.
Gonna have
And
to
this is what
start.
we've seen at the federal level with hotel quarantine, for example. The federal government was
Oh
told
my
by its
God,
own expert
really?
panel it wasn't working,
There we go.
and then lifts
Cool.
it and says it's no longer necessary without
Oh,
actually
you're
dealing with the
bugging like a
underlying
fucking motherfucker.
issues with it. I would say
God, that 5G,
voters,
yes.
citizens have to put some pressure
$3,000
on governments
fucking new
when that
piece of fucking
happens. When they
hardware.
lift them,
Fucking
don't let them push them
ridiculous.
back. The second we get another
My
scare
keyboard
of,
doesn't
you know,
work,
a case
so
down
we're
here,
gonna
this
fucking
variant, or
round
whatever the
two. My
case
mom
may
did
be.
not like first one,
I couldn't
so
agree more. But
I
also
promise
wanna
that
remind
I'm gonna fix my
everyone,
face.
you're
We're
not
gonna go
seeing it
pot.
on
We're gonna
mainstream
fucking
media,
figure
but
this shit
there's
out together, okay?
thousands and tens of thousands of people
Because I
that
got
watch
like
this.
actually
There are
quite a
massive
few people who
protests
are
on
just
the
like,
weekend.
oh shit,
Not just
I
abroad,
like to
Europe,
fucking do it. I was like, really?
And so
Fucking
people
look, tell
are
me I'm
beginning
fucking
to
nutty
object
professor over
to
here.
having
So
to
we'll
reveal
be nutty
personal
professor.
sensitive medical data and share it widely and just accept what the government is telling us. We have to preserve that resistance.
I think that's an incredibly important note to end on. And I have to give another plug because that piece you wrote in October is still just as relevant, if not more so today. Rise up, freedom must prevail. And I think it's been very informative, just even for me personally, and the importance to look at privacy and freedom as very interlinked. Ann Cavoukian is the executive director of the Global Privacy and Security by Design Center. Thank you so much, Ann. It's a true pleasure to have you on.
Fucking live stream for literally over 2 years. Like, only because fucking curfew.
All of you are asking.
That curfew is fucking insane, so it's their fucking live stream.
On my old radio
and having people fucking listen is
named right now. And
fucking weird. Like, I don't want to be doing this.
I've just been retweeting her. She's been retweeting me, and I was
Like,
reading her column. She
I want
doesn't
to go
write a lot of
skating
other stuff
by myself at like 3 a.m. Leave me alone.
and I knew I had to get her on, and I am glad I did. That was a mic drop moment, or a few mic drop moments, as a matter of fact. And with that, I'm going to drop the mic now, not as dramatically. We've got to end things there, but we will be back in a couple days' time with more of Canada's most irreverent talk show. This is the Andrew Lawton Show on True North. Thank you. God bless. Good day.
Thanks for listening to the Andrew Lawton.
Like, truckers taught me how to be a competent human being when I was an 8-year-old. Because that's what our parents used to do with us. They used to bring us to work. Get Trudeau to pay for daycare. Okay. Fucking useless. Like fucking boomers fucking useless. I'm kidding. Seriously, like fucking. I know it must be horrible fucking spending time with your children, for fuck's sake. I see. No, I don't get fucking anything for him. Oh. No shortage of freedom.
This ain't nothing. We got the ground rumbling now. We'll just wait.
Fuck yeah, guys. That's awesome.
Hundreds of trucks passed through Saskatoon and Regina Monday before stopping in Balgony for the night. They're convoying from BC to Ottawa in protest of the new vaccine.
Like, you guys fucking want to eat? Like, you guys want to have a Mexican stand up with the people who bring you your food?
This is actually being done out of frustration towards the things that the government is imposing upon Canadian citizens. The last few years have been hard on everybody.
Not vaccinated. Not vaccinated. Let's throw that out there. Fucking 6 feet. Fucking. Tie me fucking down. Fucking, like. Seriously? Fuck out of here with this nonsense. Seriously, when you're fucking, all your friends are dying from fucking like heroin overdoses, like.
It's gonna be bigger. I'll say no.
But like fucking, they're ready to dish them out, like fucking. These fucking no, I'm fucking putting my body. Don't you put it in your mouth? Remember that?
So what's your message then to truckers
If you
who
don't know
have
what it
maybe
is,
spent the past month thinking that
I've been sick my entire life, like in the fucking hospital for fucking ever, like antibiotics, fucking prednisone, fucking like honestly, fucking the more fucking OCD, like I wasn't allowed to play with kids, I wasn't fucking allowed to do anything in case I got sick because I get no fucking pneumonia, like fucking more X-rays, like. Sure. Only when I start fucking hanging around hobos that I'm like, I don't really get sick anymore. So that's cool. Every time I fucking go to my GP, I was writing me a new fucking prescription. Like, fucking, because I'm crazy fucking raging junkie apparently.
So what's your
Like,
message then to truckers
when I'm
who
on
have
drugs,
maybe
they
spent
fucking,
the past month thinking
people
that
fucking are just like,
kinda
oh wow,
have
you're
their
doing really
backs and
good
calling
life.
for
I'm
reasonable
like,
accommodations and
I'm
tests, and
fucking
again, you still won't
miserable. Are you
answer. Will you meet
kidding?
with them when they come to Ottawa?
But
Do you support
okay,
their
well, if
efforts
you're so
and
sad and miserable,
coming all the
here's
way
fucking
here?
antidepressants
What's
to
your
make you
message to truckers who
catatonic.
might be disappointed that you are
Like,
dodging questions and when you won't say
well, it
whether
takes
you'll
like
meet with them?
2 months to regulate through your body. Like, I still felt like shit. Like, well, let's try to change it up. Fuck, like,
several months.
the
In
fuck
fact, we
out of
did
here.
minister on this.
Not a fucking lab rat. Like, this
Every
is not a
occasion,
fucking,
I encourage truckers to
like,
get
oh,
vaccinated.
let's fucking see what
He's
this
called me a
does.
conservative opposition leader.
Hopefully this one will
But
work.
he's none of those words, is he? He's not very conservative. He doesn't really oppose anything of substance that Trudeau does, and I really
Okay,
don't
like,
think he's much of a leader. He's more of a hider
what are we talking about?
than a leader. I think the reporter who was asking those questions, who I recognize the voice, I think it was this guy, Glenn McGregor. Here's a tweet that he did yesterday.
GoFundMe.
Statement from GoFundMe to CTV about the fundraiser for Truckers for Freedom. Freedom Convoy 2022 that has raised $2.5 million.
Oh my god.
And he shows a response from the crowdfunding website GoFundMe that they wrote to him. He obviously was asking them if they were going
So
to cut
just
off
in
and
case
shut
you're wondering
down
what this
the
is,
truckers.
by
And
the
it
way,
sounds like GoFundMe
this
worked
is
with the
just
truckers to ensure that
collaborations
everything was
of,
compliant so the money would flow. Say, do you
I
think
guess,
that's real journalism?
news
Or
is,
is it
and then
actually
what
all
I
cancel
conversations I
culture
guess I
in the
have
guise
with
of
people about
journalism?
it
I
because
would have liked to have seen McGregor's email to GoFundMe that elicited
like,
that
if you don't
reply,
like
because
the things
I
I have to
don't think
say,
it's
whatever.
normal or natural or even journalistic at all.
Like sometimes these guys go like, you know, fuck it. I'm not. You
You
don't want to be fucking listening to conservative news.
That's a
Like,
provocation. That's an implied threat that the same
sometimes they
journalist
go like a
will
little bit
embarrass
farther.
them with a bad news story if they don't say, yes, yes, we're going to cut off these evil people. And I don't think it's a coincidence that McGregor did that at the same time Trudeau's disgraced hatchet man, Gerald Butts, has done 8,000 tweets.
General
Butts. I think the media party were getting their instructions. Here's something Butts said. An Alberta separatist has collected almost $1 million on a GoFundMe page to, quote, support trucker protests. Where will the money go?
Fucking $1 million for?
Protests and the donations of tribal.
We're picking up cans, okay?
So you're an Alberta separatist now if you support truckers. Gee, I wonder where Trudeau got his
They
advice
taught me
to
how to
call
for copyright.
people racist,
Right
and
up to the right.
misogynist too. I guess the only thing worse than a racist, sexist, Western separatist is someone who follows Tucker Carlson. Pierre Poilievre.
Tucker Carlson's fucking hilarious.
Finally, call
It's
for
fucking
lockdowns.
dumber than a brick
Well,
fucking
that was
wall.
just too much for Butts.
You know what
who tweeted in
is
reply,
racism
"This will
exactly?
sound like
It's like,
Fox News.
are you
The
asking?
vast majority of Canadians,
Like,
the
they think
vast
it's
majority of
genuinely
Canadians are not fans of
All
Fox
he
News.
does, like, hey,
In
we
a
had a
nutshell,
spare
is
career.
why the
Did you
Conservatives
really
keep
have any
losing
interesting?
elections. Well, the
Okay.
word freedom is actually a Canadian word too. Perhaps you've heard of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Pierre Poilievre didn't mention Fox or anything American at all, but to Gerald Butts, anyone who mentions freedom can't be a true Canadian, which is weird because Butts himself, after being thrown out of Trudeau's office in disgrace over the Jody Wilson-Raybould matter, went to work for an American lobby firm in New York. So weird.
And then Butts linked to this conspiracy theory, where the convoy was apparently being funded by foreign operatives or something. I'm serious, and they were money laundering.
Oh
I'm serious.
God, like this shit makes this is what
conspiracy
makes me
theory
fucking
thread
crazy. Like
that General Butts is pointing to. You can tell they're worried, I guess, by how much he's hate tweeting about it. Butts did quote the
like
Trump
fucking
news.
yeah, that's why I
before.
want fucking my politicians
That's
on
not really
fucking
his
Twitter,
favorite
like
people,
fucking twat.
people who read the Trump news. Butts is
Go
against
fucking
fossil fuel
water.
news. He's more a Prius guy. When he's not in a private jet himself.
Piss him
He
out about
was
a fucking
there
hard vacation like
on the
6 times a
convoy,
fucking
which
year.
so surprised me.
Like, are you kidding?
The
He's
Mercure
like,
of
I think my
protests
family's been on
and
a
the
total
donations
like
that drive them. Sounds like Butts himself. might have
under
even
10
written this.
vacations,
But,
family
first
vacations.
of all, it
Like I've never
starts
worked at an
off,
airport. I've never even
by
been on a
surrendering
fucking plane.
Trudeau. That's the approach that Butts wants all of his critics to take, to give up immediately without a fight. Here's the truck
You know
news
what I
that say
realized actually?
such protests
Every single person in my
rarely
family
deliver
has
results,
worked
aside from
in
angering
what do you
the
call it?
motoring public and casting
Transportation,
shade on
like
our
I
industry.
guess like
We will report on
big
significant
transport
events that
companies. Like
disrupt our industry and businesses,
Via
but do
my other
nothing to
grandfather was
support
CN,
reform
my uncle
protests.
CN, another uncle's Bombardier.
We
Fucking
read a little bit
both
about
me and my sister worked at
one
the airport.
disturbing trend
Like really
of
every
money
single fucking
being
person in my
thrown
life
at
has
recent
worked
attempts to
some
bring
point
commerce
within
to a
this
halt.
like fucking
What a loser. It's
what is
already
this?
had tremendous results. And too bad Truck News wasn't part of it. They literally sold out their own people. What a weird lie, though. The convoy is trying to bring commerce to a halt. No, it's not. What a weird lie. That's
They just want to
Trudeau's
be left alone
ban
to
on
do his
bring
job.
commerce
That's
to a
why
halt.
they took that
These
job.
convoys are not blocking roads. They're a convoy, not a blockade. What a weird lie.
Like,
But
you start
again, the
fucking
obsession
blockading.
with money, and I've seen
Oh,
a
you
lot of
motherfuckers
news that.
eat way too fucking
I
much
think
and
it's
then
called
fucking
projection
constant
in
with the
psychology.
fucking gym
Truck
shit.
News is
Like,
owned by a company called
eating
Wheatco,
gym. Maybe stop
which has
fucking
received
eating
over
constantly.
10
Every fucking 30
different
seconds. You
grants from
food.
Trudeau's media bailout.
Like,
in the
holy
last
shit,
year
you
on
guys want to
checks.
write
So,
fucking
yeah,
over
I
beef?
know why
Like,
they're obsessed with
fucking
money,
all you fucking have
because it's all they
diabetes,
think
fucking die of
about.
heart failure.
And so they're obsessed with pleasing Gerald Butts and the Liberal Party. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the
Man,
news
you're
of the day.
fucking, you guys
and
are
I
fucking
interview
bored.
interesting guests.
Guess what? We
And
were
every
kids
night,
every
emails.
fucking 30
You better
minutes.
subscribe.
I'm hungry.
Go to
Fucking
rebelnews.com.
eat ice. Because guess what? I wasn't hungry. I was fucking bored. You're not hungry. You're bored. And now you guys are fucking stuck at home constantly, like eating more.
Did even do Sarah?
Yeah. ABC, I know.
The narrative is crumbling. What do you mean the narrative is crumbling? Well, I suppose what I mean is the perception of reality and reality itself are bifurcating, spreading apart, splitting, because the agenda of people in political power is altering. So the narrative has to change in order to support that. In this video, we talk about what's going on in American hospitals around the coronavirus pandemic. How we've gone from making medical
Not gonna
workers
lie,
and
like,
healthcare workers
you have a
heroes
fucking
to sacking
blueprint
them if they're not
of the
vaccinated,
entire
to make
fucking
them come
other.
back to
Guess
work
what?
when they've got
Every
coronavirus
word.
and not supporting them properly while they do the difficult jobs they do. If you want to see that full video, it's over on my channel now, and you'll see.
No, I fucking seen the ER. Fucking doctors and nurses are walking through fucking emergency, and they're like, "Oh hey, how's your mom?" Like, fucking. That's how many times I fucking had to sit at the hospital throughout my lifetime. Fucking an entire fucking childhood of like, sitting there for hours and hours waiting for an oxygen mask. Like,
I'm Alan Robards, a psycho.
oh yeah, really? That sucks. NATO starts. Fucking, that sucks. And why the fuck are we in fucking Ukraine? Or someone just like, well, get them the fuck out. Like, well, fucking none of this. Like,
feels like that.
Cause you know what? We really, honestly, we just fucking got out of the Middle East. So, like, fucking, what are we gonna do now? How are you gonna deal with the fucking rape problems in your military, guys? Come on now. I'm pretty sure there's like a whole thing about like a bunch of fucking people who were like fucking shipped for fucking sexual assault in our military. So maybe let's put that and stop getting on our people's shit.
Many of whom say they are fully vaccinated but are simply against vaccination mandates.
They're just
Dude,
seems to be a shift in public
oh,
opinion.
fucking exactly
where we
what?
are
Go
in the
on, knock
pandemic.
yourself out.
Professor Pennycook says coming up on 3 years of pandemic life, some are willing to take back control of their own health risks.
In their
This
own fucking
movement
lives,
is the
like,
perfect
and they're
platform.
tired of fucking
This is a straightforward
working
convenient
the
way for
most
people to
garbage
voice
jobs while
their
my fucking
frustrations
prime
with,
minister's on vacation surfing.
well, I mean, not just the restrictions, but with the pandemic in itself.
Literally fucking pick up
Life hasn't gone back to
feces
normal
with my
and,
fucking bare
we got
hands,
vaccinated and everything.
like at
Most of us
certain
have been
jobs. Like
vaccinated.
it's fucking terrible.
We kind of want our lives to go back to normal.
Like,
also
you know,
acknowledges
it's
that
like
the
the fucking
protest
healthcare
messaging
shit.
could be
Like, yay,
hijacked
we
if
have
the
free schools.
convoy
Our
turns into
doctors
multiple
could
protests at once.
spend
But the
7
problem,
years paying out their
they have some
fucking
sort of
ass, like trying to
grievances, and the protest
fucking
isn't that
be a
outlet for whatever
doctor,
grievances they
nurse
have.
to save fucking,
And
like,
so,
what the
their
fuck,
support for
guys?
the protest may have nothing to do with what the organizers are trying to accomplish, or any certainly any policy or any specific policy.
Like, where is the incentive to ever
changes.
fucking want to be a doctor or
Definitely.
fucking nurse or work in the health fucking profession? Like, if they just have to fucking spend their whole fucking lives like fucking making themselves fucking so exhausted from fucking trying to fucking go to school and like working 2 jobs, like it fucking it takes a toll on you. Like seeing that much fucking like negative shit, like fucking people being sick and families that fucking are that just lost somebody, it fucking takes a toll on you. Like, yeah, you guys are fucking paying millions of dollars to your fucking hockey players. Like, I'm sorry. Like, honestly, like, if I'm crazy, then I'm fucking crazy. Like, I guess. I don't know. Anyway. Oh, cool. That's interesting. I feel like everything's a dream. Dopamine fasting. This would be good for you guys to watch. Oh, that was nice. That was like a fucking 8.8. Very nice. Yeah, I know. Fucking dying. It was fucking great. Fucking. I don't know if you guys all forgot about being responsible for 4,000 fucking people dying in fucking old folks'
from the
home.
YouTube channel 1% Better, and you're
Get a
watching
fucking
this
flying
because
out.
you want to
Go take your
overcome your
fucking family
addictions
member
and
out of
restore your
fucking
motivation. Let's get
out
to
of
it.
old folks' homes. It's crazy,
We live
dude.
in a world that is designed to
I watched,
stimulate
you know
our
what? I watched my
emotions.
mother give up
Every
fucking her
advertisement
like
through
fucking
products
drop
and
everything for her
social
parents
media
while they
posts
die.
is geared to give us a short rush
Give
of
people
pleasure,
dying some fucking
which is
dignity,
followed by
please.
an
Like,
emptiness
honestly.
and a craving for more. Big companies are able to leverage our cravings and make
I'm gonna
trillions of
fucking go
dollars off
see
of
my
keeping us
grandfather.
addicted. If
Because
you
I'm
don't
afraid
have
I'm
a
gonna
plan
kill
for
him,
yourself, you will be at the mercy of
I'm
companies
not,
who will
but,
play
like,
on your
come on.
impulses to control you like a puppet. You will sacrifice your free will, searching for happiness in a maze that's designed to keep you lost. Studies show that on average, people use their smartphones for about 3 hours per day.
Oh my god, there's some
That's
people that are my age who've
1,000
never, they don't know how to use a
every
fucking
single
map.
year.
Like,
Thankfully,
you
there
go
is
like,
a way
wait,
to
what?
regain control over your impulses and take your power
Useless.
back through a practice called dopamine fasting.
Yeah, no,
What's
fuck that
that,
phone.
you say? Well, first we need an understanding of dopamine. Dopamine is a brain chemical associated with wanting.
Mhm.
According to Loretta Bruning, author of Habits of a Happy Brain, dopamine is triggered by new rewards. That's why the first lick of an ice cream cone is heaven. 10 licks later, your attention wanders. You start thinking about the next thing on your agenda and the next. You still love the ice cream, but you don't feel it as much because your brain doesn't see it as new information. Your brain is already looking for the next great way
It's
to
never
meet
enough
your
for
needs.
people.
However, with video games, porn sites, and social media, your brain always has the next thing to be
Yeah, guys,
excited
just
about
wanna
because they are
fucking
engineered to trigger constant dopamine release.
make
I'm sure
stuff
you are familiar
pretty.
with the
I
feeling
wanted
of
to
wanting
feed,
to make the day productive,
wanted to feed
only
people.
to look
I
up at
wanted
the
to
end of the
fucking.
day and realize you spent 4
Pot
hours
is like
mindlessly
not
scrolling
a
through Instagram
medication.
and checking
Pot is not
notifications.
a
You
drug.
waste time, feel bad about yourself,
Like,
and
pot
things that
actually,
used to
I find
excite you
fucking
no
like,
longer excite you
okay,
like they
honestly,
used to.
someone who has like
That's where
hundreds of
dopamine
fucking
fasting
seizures
comes
a
in.
day,
Dopamine fasting
and then
is
you
the
give them a bit
idea
of pot
that
and it
if you
stops.
avoid a dopamine
Why the
stimulating
fuck is my
activities for
government calling
extended periods of
CBD a
time,
controlled
you'll be able to
substance? That's my
reset your
fucking
brain
question.
and let go of addictive behaviors that
But you guys are
negatively
fucking
impact
trying
your
to be
life.
like fucking
It's commonly
ketamine.
misunderstood as producing
Ketamine you're
dopamine,
pushing.
but that's not true.
Fuck off, dude.
Dopamine is necessary to function as a healthy human being. Dopamine fasting exploded in interest in October 2018
and gained even more interest a year later after Dr. Cameron Sepper published an article on Medium titled The Definitive Guide to Dopamine Fasting 2.0, the Hot Silicon Valley Trend. Dopamine Fasting 2.0 is better defined. It's based on cognitive behavioral therapy. It's about reducing impulsive behavior, not reducing dopamine itself. And it doesn't encourage you to act like a full-blown monk who abstains from all forms of pleasure.
Yeah.
So what is the science
The
behind
balance,
Dopamine Fasting
yo.
2.0? Well, as mentioned before,
Understand why
it's
it's so
based on
hard.
cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
That's what I asked my
CBT
doctor for
is
when I
an
was like a
evidence-based
16-year-old,
practice
because I was like, I
prescribed
think
by
I have
thousands of
borderline,
professionals
so I
worldwide
joined
for
cognitive
changing
therapy.
CBT
Nope.
solutions based on stimulus
Prescription.
control can help you reduce the
Give me
probability of
fucking
engaging in
therapist.
addictive behaviors. For example,
It's
when
like he
your
wants to
phone
fucking
plays
do
your
breast
SMS
exams,
ringtone,
or you could go to your
pick up your phone
gynecologist.
and
Like,
tap to
what
open
the
the
fuck is
message.
going on here?
The ringtone
Like,
is a stimulus, and opening the
nutty
message is the
fucking professor
behavior.
with a prescription
Here
behind.
are two solutions. Number one, remove the stimulus.
Dr.
by
Rossi.
putting
That guy
the
was
phone in
just
another
fucking
room
that was
or with some
helpful.
notifications. Or two,
Come back in 3 days,
engaging in
shot
an
better,
activity that is not
fucking,
compatible with
take this
reading your phone.
very fucking
Like
for the
swimming.
lab. And we'll
Another
call you if we
solution
find
is
anything. Like,
exposure
okay,
and response prevention,
not
or
doing this fuck
ERP.
shit more.
For
No
example,
more fucking
you see an
mess.
attractive girl on Instagram. You feel your heart rate increase and your body tingle. So you run to your bedroom, hop under the sheets, and masturbate into a deep sense of regret and worthlessness sets in. By applying ERP, you would frequently look at attractive girls on Instagram, but refrain from masturbating. I know, it's difficult, but you can use a technique called urge surfing, which is essentially being mindful for a few minutes. Bring your attention to
Mindfulness.
where you feel the urge in your body and simply be with it.
Dude, like, that's why I was like, people are like, oh, you care too much. Like, what?
Thank yourself and set your intention for
Well,
what you will do
I
next in your day.
just want people
This
to
will become
give a
easier over
shit,
time and
or
you'll
not
likely
give a
feel
shit
sense
even.
of
I just want
accomplishment.
people to not be mean to me.
Now, at this point, you might be
Fucking
wondering,
pay
does
attention to
dopamine
your surroundings
fasting
for
really
2
work to
seconds.
manage
Like,
your addictions? If by dopamine fasting you mean reducing your dopamine levels, the answer is no. But if you mean dopamine fasting 2.0 based on CBT, like we just learned,
like,
then yes. An analysis of 106 studies concluded that, in general, the evidence base of CBT is very strong. How does dopamine fasting help restore your motivation? Well, sharp or prolonged increases in dopamine
Hey, you know
levels
what?
can reduce the amount of dopamine receptors in your brain. Dopamine fasting may help increase the amount of receptors you have through a process called upregulation. The more dopamine receptors you have, the less stimuli it will take to achieve the same amount of pleasure. If you don't eat processed sugar for a month, a single blueberry could give you the same amount of pleasure as your
Really?
favorite ice cream.
huh.
So how do you dopamine fast? There's 2 steps. In step 1, identify the behaviors that are causing you distress, impairment, or addictiveness. 6 common impulsive behaviors are emotional eating, internet and gaming,
Oh my
gambling and
god.
shopping, thrill and novelty seeking, recreational drugs, and porn and masturbation. In step 2, follow a dopamine
This
fasting
fucking, like, is
schedule.
this like all just
For
Christians?
example,
Because, like,
let's
fuck
say you want to
everybody.
reduce the
Like, I
amount of
don't care
time you
anymore.
waste on your phone.
You guys are
You
fucking
would
grown ass
refrain from
owls. You
using
can't
your
do it
phone
life.
for 1 to 4
Sorry.
hours
Sorry,
every
like,
day,
maybe you should go
1 day
figure
per
that
week,
shit out. You go work on that
1
and
per
stop
quarter,
fitting into my shit.
and 1 full week per year. Start small and gradually
I'm
increase the
glad you
amounts of
guys could
time
go
you spend
fucking
away
to
from
Disney
your
with your
phone.
fucking kids and
These
shit.
are
Like,
guidelines, not concrete rules.
yeah, that's
Follow
what
a fasting schedule that
I'm
works
just
for
upset that I
you.
never got food.
So now you know how to dopamine fast, but you may find it difficult to
I just
do.
want to lay out a
Keep
fucking
watching
rock.
because I'll share some
Fucking
tips that might make it
sorry.
easier for you to overcome your addictions and bad habits. So let's talk about routine and reward replacement. Imagine that you have a bad habit of going to the cafeteria to buy a Coke every day. Every time you drink the Coke, you feel
You
bad
drink
afterwards
fucking
and
like
end
8
up gaining
liters of
weight.
that shit.
So you
Fucking
decide to do
day.
a dopamine
Literally,
fast.
Coke's
Instead
fine. I
of
have
drinking a
Coke.
Coke
Made a
every
Coke
day,
fridge right there.
you try to only drink a
Doesn't
Coke
even work.
every 2 days. But you find this difficult.
Whatever.
According to Charles Duhigg's book,
Like,
The
you
Power
guys
of Habit,
fucking want to
here's what you can
fucking
try
use put
instead.
cocaine in it.
Number 1,
And you guys like,
identify
oh,
the
wait,
behavior.
you guys like this?
The behavior is the activity.
Cocaine is fucking
In this
terrible. Don't do
example,
fucking
it's
cocaine,
getting
by the
up,
way.
walking to the cafeteria, buying a Coke,
Do
and
not do
drinking it.
cocaine.
Next,
turns you into
identify
vessel
the
into
reward you're craving.
horrible
A
monsters.
craving drives a behavior, and rewards are what satisfy the craving. So ask yourself why you turn to Coke at the cafeteria. Are you thirsty?
I start
Do
my
you
day
want a
with
sugar
Coke.
high? A moment to step away from your work? You desire social interaction at the cafeteria? Then
A little bit of
experiment
everything.
with 4 to 5 different rewards. On one day, you might drink a bottle of water. If after 15 minutes your craving has subsided, then it could be you've just been thirsty but got into the bad habit of drinking a Coke instead. Another day you might go for a walk and call a friend. If after 15 minutes the craving has subsided, then it could be that you've just been craving social interaction. After each different activity you try, write down how you feel. After a number of days or weeks, look for patterns to see which reward is the one you are truly craving. Let's say you discover that the reward is the sugar high you get from drinking a Coke. The next step then is to identify the trigger. What triggers your craving for a sugar high? Is it the time of day? Is it seeing someone else drinking a Coke? Is it seeing a YouTube video advertisement? Is it because you ate something? It can be difficult to identify the trigger, but thankfully science tells us that triggers usually fall into 5 categories. They are location, time, an emotional state, other people, or the immediately preceding action. Let's say you discover that your trigger is time-based, because it always seems to happen around 3 p.m. every day, regardless of how you feel, where you are, or any other factors. Once you've identified the behavior, reward, and trigger, you will likely feel a sense of empowerment that you can change your habits. So the final step is to make a plan. When 3 p.m. comes around, consciously choose a healthy behavior that delivers the reward you are craving. In our example, it's the sugar high. Make the conscious decision to go to a nearby juice bar to grab your favorite organic juice instead of a Coke. I work from home, so one of my favorite things to do is to stock my fridge with cans of flavored fizzy water with natural lemon flavors. I get the same reward of having a Coke, but without the bad stuff.
Well, you can't just fucking live off treats, I'm sorry.
Then consider checking out my channel 1% Better, where I create animated summaries of life-changing books.
Yeah, this guy's great. He's really good. I fucking awesome too. Start your engines. That's cool. What is this? I like that.
Well, everyone, it's happening.
It's all happening.
Started their convoy from here in BC. What a glorious day to be Canadian as we send our heroes into battle.
When the fuck is Juno? Wow. Yay! I just don't understand how the fuck we are in Ukraine. Like, there's, I don't know fucking who runs the Middle East, but like, they're kind of really unorganized. Putin is fucking terrifying. That guy fucking, like, he's fuck shit up real good. Like, he's been fucking, you see him for like 20 fucking, at least like 20 years before he even got where he is, and he's just always in the background in pictures. He's fucking everywhere. Trudeau, same thing. That fucking piece of shit was fucking, he was born to be doing this, apparently. Really fucking good at fucking reciting scripts, that's for fucking sure. You'll fucking put a smile on your fucking face, like, you're just gonna fucking recite the same shit over and over, and fucking pretend like you aren't fucking gonna notice. Hey, fuck you, dude. Honestly, if you even fucking watch him in Congress, it's almost like you can see when he's like watching him pick up the phone, call this fucking guy. He's like, say what I say, word for word, just like this. It's like, fucking, you just, I was like, yo, what? I'm pretty sure it's like, just fucking picked up the phone, because like they're reciting his shit word for word. Like, it's like a fucking script. It's crazy. Maybe I'm crazy, but please, someone throw me a lifeline. Like, owie. Owie, owie. Okay. I just think I don't fucking like, see, I don't care about doing this shit no more. Like, I don't fucking give a shit about makeup. Fucking like, so one thing I'll do is make like a making people feel a little more comfortable. Fuck off. Okay. So, probably not going to do it again because I don't want to traumatize my fucking parents. YouTube.